Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Fabian for Liberty. I want to remind you that it's a new podcast episode of the Fabian Calvo Show today. Link is down below for you to tune in. I cover the recent bombings from the U.S. in Iraq, the spread of ISIS, and some incredibly disturbing documentary films that I watched over the weekend that I'll be sharing that info with you as well. Now, many of you know, and I just did a breakdown of this last week, that for the several years now I've been talking about how we are in a pump and dump of the real estate market, and currently we're in the pump. But over the weekend there was so much information that came out that further basically backs up my claims that we are in this midst of the federal government, big banks on Wall Street, getting ready to unleash massive amounts of credit so that they can prop up the housing market and blow up the housing market, quite frankly, as they've done with the stock market. But unlike the stock market, I find this so interesting because the real estate market, in my opinion, is the central component of the big ultra Ponzi scheme by the Wall Street bankers and, quite frankly, by the central planners in the West. If they can blow up housing markets, then economies on paper look like they're doing really well. Because think about it. If somebody buys a home, think about all the other things that they do. Well, they likely go spend money at Walmart or at Home Depot, or they hire the gardener, or they hire the painter and the landscapers, or the contractors. They use a title company. They get a mortgage. All of the other effects that come from buying real estate. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, my personal opinion, you want to follow the trajectory of where the economy is going, absent black swans that are real and could happen. Follow what's happening with the real estate market and follow the trends. Now, also, before I get into this incredible information, I want to thank all of you that routinely send me articles about housing starts, about mortgage apps, about all kinds of different things, because I look at all of it and I use it for this video, and those of you that send me some of these reports, you'll see. Now, first I want to start with an article. All these will be linked down below from the Star Tribune. And the title is, Mortgage Standards Are Easy. Now, I've said for over 2 years now that after the midterm elections of 2014, we will see the banks, big banks, and they've already started this. In fact, I was actually too conservative in my analysis and in my forecasting because it's happening much faster than expected, which to me shows you what dire straits the economy is actually in. Right? So if they have to speed up the agenda, if they have to speed up the cheap credit and no money down loans, it just shows you how much trouble overall the economy's in spite of all of the phony fraud figures that are put out by the Department of Commerce saying, oh, our economy grew at 7%, really, if you factor in the negative 3% growth of the first quarter, that in 2 quarters, the U.S. economy grew 7%. That is, at best, laughable, at worst, extremely, extremely troubling. But here we go. The Star Tribune goes into a lot of details. Again, I'll post that link down below. One of the most incredible ones is how 25% of U.S. banks so far have begun easing credit to home borrowers. It goes, and remember, I talked about this a little bit last week, talking about, I covered it in my podcast as well, how just last week, FICO, who was helped out by some of the big rating agencies, are beginning to redefine people's credit scores. So if you've had some collections in the past, if you've had medical collections, whatever it may be, those will no longer count on your credit. They'll no longer reduce your credit. And according to several sources, that could unleash tens of millions of new borrowers that originally would not have been able to have qualified for a loan can now get a home loan. But it doesn't even end there. Fannie Mae in September is beginning once again, and we had these under the George Bush administration. Bush was a big proponent of this. In fact, one of the real reasons why we even had subprime being able to take off is because of the Fed collusion of no money down payment assistance programs, which Bush blew up completely. It absolutely grew exponential under him. Well, in September of this year, Fannie Mae will begin to roll out no money down payment assistance programs for all of these borrowers. Remember, new borrowers, tens of millions of borrowers that will be seeking to get loans. Now, here's one of the biggest things, and this is one of the reasons why I posted a video a couple months back about Harry Dent and why Harry Dent's predictions, I believe, are completely wrong. Not because you can look at his predictions and they're wrong, although he did call some things right in the early 90s, I believe. His notion that the demographic curve is going to be really lethal to the U.S. economy, I think is completely wrong. He often cites the baby boomers being reaching their peak spending years, and all of that is correct. But what I haven't heard from him, maybe I missed the interview or I missed this part of his report, is how the largest demographic, and I talked about this over a year ago, I'll post a video down below for you could hear it, which is who will own the new economy, if you will. And it's the millennial generation, which is the largest generation, largest demographic in America, 20 to 24-year-olds to be specific. Now, those are soon going to be turning 25, 26, 27. And already they're laying out the groundwork for giving these people cheap credit to buy cars, to buy houses, you name it, ladies and gentlemen. And this is truly the end of the road Ponzi scheme system that this economy has become to rely on. It's really often called the infinite credit growth paradigm, where the only real growth comes from an expansion of the money supply. The only real growth comes from cheap credit to consumers that don't have money in savings to actually buy stuff. That is the tall tale sign for an economy that is soon to basically go completely belly up. And I'll continue to cover this because, again, I think this is some of the most critical info on the economy overall, is what's happening specifically with the housing market. I'll touch on it a little bit today. Also, I wanted to just mention, on my podcast, I have been talking about a vitamin company that I teamed up with. We're giving away this week 200 bottles of a custom blend probiotic. You could get it for $1. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, you could get it for free. But if you don't, you got to pay a couple dollars in shipping. Anyways, if you're interested in that, or you want to try it out, the link is down below for you to be able to get a $30 or $39 bottle of probiotics custom blend for $1. I'm Fabian Calvo, Fabian for Liberty. Remember, new podcast today. Link is down below as well. Thanks for listening, and I want to hear from you. What do you think about the housing market? I mean, again, I said black swans aside, which black swans could easily happen, implode this thing completely overnight. But if the banksters win and they continue on this trajectory before there is a World War III, before there's an implosion of the dollar, they will implode asset bubbles here to the upside, in my opinion, with something spectacular going down 2017, 2018, around that time period. I'm Fabian Calvo. Thanks for watching. I'm out.